Hello, welcome back. So, I was pretty excited about my 2025 year of reading. I thought it was a really, really good one for me. The best one I've had in a long time, maybe in my life. I feel like I really pushed the boundaries with what I read and what I felt comfortable reading. Like I tested myself a lot more. And sometimes when you test yourself, you have some books that just either don't live up to expectations or they're just not for you. So I wanted to go over four books that I felt weren't really it for me. Some of it was just due to my personal preference. Some of it I feel like was it was overhyped. So there's four books that I'm going to go through in this video about and how I felt about them. So I'm going to start off relatively mild with my opinion. It's a book I can't make up my mind on it. So I want to see if you guys, if you've read the book, what you thought of the book. I really like it wasn't necessarily a bad book. I just can't decide how I feel. It's The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. It was okay. It was fine. I really don't have a solid opinion on this book. I don't know if I liked it or if I thought it was meh, because there are parts of it that I did enjoy, but parts of it that I felt like it was really lacking. Um, I'd heard when the book came out or when I got it from my book of the month because it was a book of the month book for me. I'd heard a lot of really really positive things and a lot of people comparing it to This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I would like to read and compare to this because I feel like there's some, maybe it's just the time travel situation that they have in common, but I'm trying to decide if I dislike time travel or I just dislike this take on time travel. Um, it was it was pretty heavy-handed with its messaging and its themes, which is not necessarily like a total write-off for me. For example, Catabasis, I felt Kwong was also, and I've heard about her other books. I've got Babel lined up later, and I've heard that messaging and themes are a little heavy-handed in those books, in that book too. Now, it can happen in books like Catabasis, and I still love the book. Catabasis still made my top 10 of the year, so I can deal with heavy handedness if the rest of the book is good. And I don't know if the rest of this book held up to be able, for me to be able to like it to that degree. Um, it also could just be my issues with time travel. I don't tend to like time travel in books, in movies, just as a concept because it can get unnecessarily messy. Like time loops are not my favorite thing. It just gets confusing and I'm not a fan. So that could be it. I'm not completely against the book. I just don't know how I feel about it. I think I could be swayed to like it. I just haven't, I don't know. No, because now that I'm thinking more about the book and just I'm reading the blurb on the back, a boy meets a girl, the past meets the future, a finger meets a trigger, the beginning meets the end. It's all very stereotypical time travel, which means it falls into a lot of those traps, which I've already said. I feel like I'm on a time loop just with this review. But also, when I'm thinking about the craft, and part of the craft is that heavy handed messaging, part of it is characters weren't very well developed, in my opinion. The main character was extremely unlikable, in my opinion. I thought she was very selfish, and that bothers the heck out of me. Um, selfish main characters, when they're not meant to be. I don't know if she's meant to be a selfish main character. I have a feeling she is. And if she is, man, yes, Bradley did a good job with that. But I also feel like it was an incomplete plot. Like I feel like the book just stopped before before the story was over. It feels unresolved. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I could still be swayed to like it, but I'm not a fan of it, if that makes any sense. So the Ministry of Time, it was pretty disappointing, not gonna lie. But I also remember reading it around the same time that I read some bangers too. So I could be comparing it to that. In any case, if you liked it, tell me why you like it. I'm open to discussion. I just was not the biggest fan of this one. So that was number one. Number two, let me be very clear with this one. It is not the book I have an issue with. It is all of the hype that I heard about this book. It's Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. The book is not bad. The book is perfectly fine. I would not say it's a great book. I would not say it's a horrible book. I'd say it's a fine book. My issue with this book is how much people were hyping it up. Every time I got into social media, it felt like every single person was, oh my God, this book is amazing. Oh my God, it's my favorite book of the year. And that's just not it. It's not it. It's not anything against Ciccarelli or, well, maybe a little bit, but like it's not her fault it got so hyped like that. I just don't like it when I only see positive reviews. I like to see grounded reviews. I like to see, okay, I really enjoyed it for XYZ, but I can see why XYZ needs to be fixed, right? I didn't see that with this book, and that just bothers the heck out of me. So I did go into reading this with a little bit of a bias because I only saw positive reviews. So it is a little bit on me. I do understand that. However, for I'm going to go into the things that I did not like first because I do have things that I like about it and I want to end on a positive note. That's just the kind of person I am. I want to end with a positive. So what I'm going to say is it might be a little bit something. I don't know. But for the amount of people that I heard saying this was the best book of 2025, and we were like, when I heard that, it was halfway through the year. So we still had the rest of the year to go, and they had 5 months or 6 months up to that point to read other works. It makes me question how much they actually read in 2025. Again, this book is perfectly fine. It's perfectly mid. But even for YA, because I'm told it's YA, I've heard it's a YA book. Even for YA romantasy and fantasy that came out last year, I don't know if this came out in 2025, but in the last few years, it's not bad, but I have read better. You know what I mean? Like, I did not care about a single character in this book until about 250 pages in. And that feels like a really long time to be just holding on when the book is only 400 pages long. That's past the 2/3 point. See, I'm fumbling over my words because I'm trying to be calm with my delivery, but that doesn't work out for me very often, especially on books like this where I'm just like, why? I don't understand. Reading is subjective, and that's totally chill. And I'm totally happy for the people that loved this book. It just wasn't for me. I thought another main character that was selfish. I did not like Rune. I read this book, and then I also did read the second book. The second book is much better. I don't remember what the other one is. Rebel Witch was much better. I still didn't care about Rune in the second one either because I think she's just a selfish character. I think she's boring, and I think she was supposed to be. I think she was supposed to come across as smart, and I just frankly did not get that feeling from her. I didn't think she was that smart. I thought Alex was fine, kind of 2D. Gideon, I did understand the most. Therefore, he's the one I started caring about the soonest. In fact, that 250 page point, that was when I started caring about Gideon. So I was finally invested in this book. Up to that point, it was just like, okay, where's the hype? What is it? I don't get it yet. So that was fine. Now, there were things I liked about this book, and I will always be able to find something I like about the book. That is something that I strive to do because there's always going to be something redeemable, in my opinion. So I did end up reading the second one. The second one was good. This one, the ending was pretty good. It was predictable. However, it is YA, so I give some leniency on plot predictability when reading YA. But I felt like it could have been a little bit higher stakes. I felt like it could have been a little bit, punchier, if that makes sense. Which, if you actually have read this book and you read the ending, that might not align with what you think, and I totally understand that. That's just what I got from it. But something that I really, really, really did like about this book was the magic system. I thought it was a really unique and cool magic system. That part did keep me reading, actually, because I wanted to see more magic. I wanted to see our main character use it more. I wanted to see hopefully some other witches come in. So that part I did find really interesting, and we did get to see more of the magic system in the second book. So there was a lot of payoff, I would say, for this book in the second part of the series. I just feel like maybe the amount or the length of this book or every event in this book maybe wasn't necessary to get the payoff that we got in the second book. But it was fine. My biggest beef, my biggest issue was the hype around this book. Reading is subjective. I will say that a bajillion times because it is. And I know this is going to be a lot of people's favorite books because I heard it was a lot of people's favorite books. It's not for me. I did not enjoy it. I thought it was fine. I did hate read this book a little bit at a certain point. I remember looking at my friend and going, I just need this book to end. It is a hate read, and I will not DNF books. This actually is a really good reason for me to not DNF a book, because if I had stopped reading this book around 150 pages in, like I planned to, I don't think I would have gotten to the second book. I don't think I would have gotten to see such a cool magic system. So I don't believe, I'm like, if you want to DNF a book, I don't care. That's fine. Whatever. It's just a personal, like, my brain does not let me DNF a book. I can DNF a series, but not a book. So this is why I don't DNF. Another redeeming quality of it. The second book was much better. This book, not great. Not a fan, but that's okay. The next one, oof, it made me so sad that I didn't like this book because it's from one of my favorite authors. It's My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. A moment for that cover. I love a good theme. If I can stick to anything, it's a bit. If I can commit to anything, I will commit to a bit. And that's exactly what Grady Hendrix does in his books. I have read 3 of his books so far, and whole buddy does the guy commit to the bit. And I love that. And he did it in this book too. So like I said, there are always some positives to a book. This one was just really disappointing because the first 2 books I read from him were How to Sell a Haunted House. I'm pretty sure you can see it. I'm pretty sure it's on camera. I love this book. And Horror Store, which is basically Haunted IKEA. Hello, amazing. I think about those books all the time. I love those books. This one, because of those 2 books, I had super high standards or super high expectations for this one. It just didn't hit. I'm a sucker for campy stories. I love going all the way with a theme, and he went all the way with the 80s theme. It's set in the mid 80s. It's as 80s as you can get. Like, think of Stranger Things, but make it campy, And I love that. I love it. However, the pacing was atrocious. The drama was not dramatic. The climax was anticlimactic. It made me so sad because it had such potential. It was just boring. Oh, it was so sad. And fun fact about me, ghosts, paranormal, exorcism, that's totally my style, totally my speed. The fact that it was an exorcism book that made me feel this way, I feel like it was just like an extra twist of the knife. Oh, I'm not gonna lie, it made me scared to read his other books. I have 2 other books lined up for him. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. That sounds amazing. But now I'm nervous to read it because I'm nervous about it not living up to the hype. And Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, which is his newest book that just came out. I think it was last year it came out, actually. So I have those 2 books, and I'm nervous because I know I'm going to eventually I'll read Final Girl Support Group, and that's the one I've heard the most mixed opinions on. That one I've heard does fall flat, so I'll go in there with, just a realistic expectation. I'm hoping to build myself up to read one of those two books, the vampire slaying book or the witchcraft book, in 2026. I just need some time because this really hurt my feelings that it wasn't that good. I'm sorry, Grady. I'm sorry. One thing I did really like about it though, um, all of the chapter titles are different 80s songs, like their song titles, and I thought that was awesome. And he did really go like super heavy on the 80s theme, and I loved that. But uh, I was just waiting for something to happen for the entire book, and the book is not short. Well, it's not long. It's like 350 pages, something like that, 330. It's just so sad. It made me sad. All right, and the last book on this list today, one of the saddest part about this, all of these, the cover art for most of these books were fantastic. Like this one I already talked about. I love this cover. Heartless Hunter was pretty cool too. Her name, like her secret identity is the Crimson Moth, and there's a literal beautiful crimson moth on the cover, like a little brooch, and I think it's so pretty. Ministry of Time was fine. It was very mid, like the book. But this next cover is my favorite cover of 2025. It was so pretty. It's What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. And this one was kind of disappointing, partially because of the actual book itself, but also because Kingfisher has a reputation, you know? I've heard a lot about Paladin's Grace. I've heard a little bit about Nettle and Bone. I've even heard about a lot about What Moves the Dead. Oh, Dolly's got something to share too. But this one was disappointing for a myriad of reasons. Hey, babe. Hey, what are we doing? Okay. Uh, my friend read The Twisted Ones by Kingfisher, and she said that was really good. So that one is on my list. I am willing to give it a second chance. I will not be giving the Alex Easton series, that's what this one is. I will not be giving this series another chance. It just made me so, so angry, but not in the angry because it was a bad book. It's because it was almost a really good book. Almost. It was, oh, I'm not going to lie. It was my least favorite book of 2025. It actually, thinking about it now, makes me a little bit upset because it had such potential. It was so close to being so good, and it just fell flat. Baby, what are we doing? Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. So if you don't know anything about this book, it is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe is my dude. I love Poe. I love Poe. So I was like, okay, this sounds like a great place to start. I've heard a lot about Kingfisher's writing. I've heard that she does atmospheric, creepy really well, and that's just like everything I love about Poe is, well, not everything, but a big thing that I love about him. So I was like, okay, great place to start. We'll try there first. I was, oh, I was so disappointed. When I say it came so, so close, I meant like she would do really well of building an atmosphere, building that world, pulling me in, and then she would just put in one line or one little detail that just would rip me out of that atmosphere, rip me out of that world and put me right back into reality. And that makes me so upset as a reader because if you go to the work of building such a good world, and she did such a good job of building such an interesting, and I could vividly picture this world, and then she would just throw something in there that didn't need to be in there and pull me completely out of it and just ruin my mood. It's only like 150 pages long. It's a pretty short book. It's under 200 for sure. It's pretty short. It took me so long to read this book because I would get pulled out of the world and just put it down because I was so angry. I'd be like, no, you've done it again. Ugh. And it's got everything that I want in a creepy book. It's a Poe retelling. Love that. It's fungus. That's pretty cool. I don't know what it is about me and fungus, but it reminds me a lot of The Last of Us, which I think is one of the coolest takes on zombies because of the fungus and the airborne fungi, and they touch on that here. And I thought that was a really cool way to do House of Usher. But it just, she would put in random things that didn't have anything to do. And you can have messaging that I didn't disagree with a lot of the messaging she put in there, but you can have themes without pulling me out of a world. So when I spoke before about heavy-handed messaging and themes, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Even in Ministry of Time, yes, it was overplayed. Yes, it was heavy-handed, but I stayed in the world because it made sense in the world to really push that narrative, and that's fine. Catabasis, one of my favorite books of 2025, was again pretty heavy-handed with its themes, pretty upfront with its narrative and our characters and Kwang's thoughts on certain societal situations, right? That's great. That's fine. I didn't get pulled out of the world with either of those two books. The way that it was done in this one pulled me out of the world and it made me so upset. So I will not be reading. I can't even think about this book without getting angry sometimes. I won't be reading another one from this series, but I'm open to reading more Kingfisher. I'm open to reading the Twisted Ones. I'm open to, there's another one. I don't know about Paladin's Grace, but just because I don't think that's my speed, I might, but that's not really my kind of book. Um, it was just, and it was another situation of I didn't really care about the characters. I didn't. I didn't care about Alex Easton. I didn't care about anybody in this book. There was one dude that made me go, huh, he's kind of funny. I kind of like him, but not enough for me to remember his name. And I only read this like a month and a half ago. So I think it was just pretty disappointing. It's another book where I went in without checking my expectations, but I feel like even if I did check my expectations, the fact that she just got so close to reading a book that was just 100% up my alley just pulled me right out of it. And that would have made me upset regardless if I'd read one of her books or I've read 20 of her books or if I read none of her books. So I'm not counting her down and out in my author repertoire, or if you could say that, I don't know. But it was just disappointing. Anyway, those were books that, again, reading is totally subjective. That's fine. I really hope people enjoyed these books because that's just, as an artist, you're going to have people that love your books and you're going to have people that dislike your books. And that's fine. That's just how people are. That's how the world is. I am always, for the most part, open to reconsidering my takes on books. So if I had a book on here that you really, really enjoyed and you just completely disagreed, or maybe I missed the point of the book, feel free to let me know. I'm open to talking about it. I just did not enjoy these books, but I've got a really good stack, a really good lineup for books coming down the line in 2026. I'm excited for. I still had a really good year last year for reading, so we can have a couple books that we dislike a little bit and still have a good reading experience overall. So if you have any recommendations for me, or if you know works by these authors, like different works by these authors that you think are really good and would like me to give a second chance to, let me know. I'm so down to try again. These just weren't it for me. Yeah, there we go.